Welcome to Wild Dreams. Tonight, we drift into a world older than memory, older than myth, older than anything the human mind was built to imagine. A world where the oceans glowed with alien light, where creatures with serpentine necks and crescent-shaped tails roamed the deep like living legends, and where entire empires of life thrived beneath waters untouched by the forms we know today. This is Sea Monsters of the Ancient Earth, a voyage into oceans where giants hunted, strange shapes flourished, and the boundaries of the familiar dissolve into something far more wondrous. Before we begin, tell me in the comments where you are in the world and what time it is as you start this journey. And if you wish for more deep time adventures to fall asleep to, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's sink beneath the surface, into a sea that no longer exists, but whose story is still written in stone. Let's begin. The water around us cools as we descend, a soft blue fading into darker hues, as if we are falling slowly through an ancient dream. The surface above ripples like molten silver, gradually blurring until it becomes a soft, distant glow. For a moment, there is silence, only the muffled pulse of deep currents and the drifting scatter of tiny organisms carried on the tide. But the stillness lasts for only a heartbeat. Something vast moves in the gloom below. There, in the shadowy blue miles of the Cretaceous Sea, a shape materializes. At first, it seems like an illusion carved out of the darkness. Then it rises, slow, deliberate, enormous. A head shaped like a crocodile's, filled with long, blade-like teeth. Muscular flippers that sweep the water with the power of an oar. A thrust of its massive tail, and the creature surges upward, every movement smooth and confident, as though it owns this entire ocean. A mosasaur. Not a myth, not a dragon, but a reptile that left land behind to become an apex predator of prehistoric seas. Its body stretches over 15 meters long, sleek and powerful, built for ambush and speed. And here, in the dim glow, it glides past like a shadow with eyes, silent, watchful, ancient. It turns, tail swaying like a giant eel's. Its skin catches the faintest shimmer of light, revealing a mosaic of scales. For a moment, the creature turns an eye toward us, deep, glassy, with a golden ring that seems to hold both calculation and something older, something instinctive carved into it by eons of survival. Then, with a flick of movement, it slips back into the void, leaving only the drifting haze of disturbed plankton behind. This is the first of the giants, but not the only one. As we drift deeper, the water cools further. The world here is slow, quiet, timeless. Sunlight reaches in pale ribbons that fade like memory, leaving long stretches of soft darkness. It is here, in this twilight, that the ocean begins to reveal the other shapes that once commanded it. Something sleek breaks the stillness, a flash of a fin, a graceful curve of spine. An ichthyosaur bursts into view, a creature shaped almost like a modern dolphin, yet entirely reptilian. Its skin glistens with the sheen of scales rather than smooth hide. Its enormous eyes, larger than grapefruits, gleam with the clarity of an animal evolved to see in dim, deep waters. This one is young, perhaps no more than a year old. It moves with the quick, darting energy of an animal exploring its boundaries. It tilts slightly as it swims, catching the shifting water currents along its flank, letting them guide its direction. It snaps its jaws playfully at drifting shoals of tiny fish, scattering them in a burst of glimmering bodies that glitter like tossed coins. But even here, in this calm young life, the rules of the ancient sea are firm. The ichthyosaur's heart beats faster. It senses something, a pressure wave, a disturbance, the whisper of something large coming nearer. A dark silhouette glides above, a slow-moving shape with impossibly long neck, slender like an elegant serpent attached to a stout, powerful body. A plesiosaur. Its neck alone stretches several meters, flexible and sweeping gently through the water like a drifting ribbon. Its flippers move in graceful synchrony, like wings that never touch the surface, flying through a world of liquid sky. The ichthyosaur freezes, hovering mid-water. The plesiosaur passes, its gaze sweeping the depths, uninterested in the small creature below. Its world revolves around different prey, soft-bodied fish, small ammonites, squid-like creatures fleeing through the gloom. With unhurried ease, the plesiosaur fades into the dusky haze, its long neck curling faintly as it goes, as if tasting distant currents with its entire body. The young ichthyosaur relaxes, heartbeat slowing. It resumes its playful weaving through the water, unaware that its entire childhood will be shaped by encounters like these. Giants drifting through territories that overlap and collide, hunting grounds shared by creatures that survived millions of years of shift, change, and unimaginable competition. A shadow above flickers and fades, but this is no creature, no predator. It is the shifting of geological time itself. Millions of years ago, continents were no more than fragments drifting across the planet's face. The seafloor beneath us would someday rise into mountains. The waters we drift through would eventually evaporate, drain, vanish. But tonight they are alive, and they are vast. We glide farther, letting the gentle pull of currents draw us into a new region of the ocean. The faint glow of sunlight grows slightly brighter again as we approach a wide, shallow sea shelf, a region teeming with life, where warm waters cradle an explosion of organisms that flourished long before mammals, before birds, before the familiar shapes of today's oceans. A glittering halo appears in the distance, like a drifting galaxy. As we draw closer, the halo becomes a swirling cloud of tiny organisms, phytoplankton, drifting plants of the microscopic world, glowing faintly green and gold. They move as if in slow-motion snowfall, catching sunlight like stars in a liquid sky. And among them drift the spiraled shells of creatures that look like artwork carved from living stone. Ammonites. They spin gently in the current, protected by their ribbed shells that curve into perfect geometric spirals. Their tentacles peek from the shell's opening, tasting the water, pulling them in gradual pulses along the ocean floor. One ammonite in particular drifts close. Its shell is large, nearly a meter across, patterned with swirling lines of iridescence that reflect colors like oil on water. This individual may be decades old. It drifts with the slow confidence of a creature that has survived countless seasons. It pulses once, twice, then releases a faint cloud of ink, a shimmering, pale silver mist that dissolves into the water. A subtle warning, a sign of a presence approaching. And indeed, a presence is coming. From the left, moving with a strange, hovering grace, a creature glides forward, alien beyond anything we know today. At first, one might mistake it for a shark, but there is something old, something reptilian in its movement. Its snout is long and narrow. Its body sweeps the water in smooth arcs. Its eyes reflect the light with a ghostly inner glow, evolved to see motion where the water dims. Another ichthyosaur, but older, larger, more experienced. Its body is marked by scars, long pale slashes across its flank, stories written into its skin. Its lungs fill deeply before it dives downward, spiraling into the cool shadow beneath the ammonites. The ammonite we just observed drifts higher, pulsing its tentacles in a rhythmic effort to escape. But even in flight, it moves slowly, too slowly. The ichthyosaur strikes not with violence, but with precision. A momentary burst of speed, a snap of jaws, and then silence. The ammonite shell cracks with a muted crunch, a sound swallowed instantly by the sea. It becomes part of the ichthyosaur's fuel, part of the ancient food webs that stretch endlessly through these prehistoric waters. The predator swallows, then drifts upward, buoyed by its own momentum. Its eyes narrow as it surveys the shimmering cloud of ammonites still drifting nearby. So many shapes, so many possibilities for its next meal. But for now, it chooses rest. It moves to warmer shallows where sunlight caresses its back, letting its body recover. Far above, the surface ripples. A gentle pressure change sweeps the water, currents shifting with the subtle rhythm of tides. And beneath that rhythm, the pulse of life continues. We move now along the continental shelf, gliding beside cliffs of ancient coral reefs that stretch for miles. The corals here are not like those of modern seas. They build different structures, strange branching towers shaped by species long extinct. Fish with plated armor swim among them. Jelly-like creatures with trailing filaments glow like floating lanterns. The reef is alive with drifting shapes, soothing motion, ancient rituals performed in silence. But in the deeper shadow of the reef wall, a movement breaks the flow. A plesiosaur mother glides into view. Her neck, impossibly long, curves gently as she inspects small crevices in the coral, searching not for food, but for safe territory. Her body is heavy with the responsibility of protecting a newborn hidden close behind her. A miniature version of herself, only a meter long, inexperienced, delicate. The youngster struggles to match her pace, its flippers beating too quickly, its movements slightly unsteady. The mother slows, watching, letting the infant press close to her side. Her instincts are ancient, woven into her very bloodline. Protect the young, teach it the paths of the sea, guide it through dangers older than memory. She senses something, a shift in the water, a faint vibration. Her head rises slightly, neck arching, eyes narrowing at the distant blue. Predator. Far off, nearly invisible in the gloom, the shape of the mosasaur emerges again, its silhouette colossal and sinuous. It moves with a calm deliberation that belies its lethality. Its senses are acute enough to feel even the faint tremors of flapping juvenile flippers. For a moment, time slows. The plesiosaur positions herself between the youngster and the approaching shadow. Her body becomes a shield. Her eyes remain locked on the predator. The mosasaur drifts nearer, not yet committed to a chase, merely curious. Its tail moves lazily, powerful muscles rippling with each controlled stroke. The sea holds its breath. The mosasaur's great head tilts, studying the mother and her young. A silent calculation, a weighing of risk versus reward. The plesiosaur lowers her head slightly, ready to lash her neck like a whip, a behavior known from fossil evidence, powerful enough to deter even a larger attacker. For a long moment, the two ancient titans hold their positions in still water, one guarding, one deciding. Finally, the mosasaur turns. Slowly, calmly, it sweeps away, confident that other prey will be easier, that patience will serve it better than conflict. The plesiosaur watches until the shadow fades into nothingness, then gently nudges her child forward. Together, they drift deeper into the safety of the reef's maze-like corridors. This is the rhythm of the ancient ocean. Threat, caution, survival, life carried onward. We drift now into the open water once more. The day deepens. Sunlight shifts through the waves above in patterns that resemble shifting gold smoke. A vast migration begins around us. Schools of fish moving like a single organism, their bodies flickering in synchronized bursts of silver. In the midst of this migration, the young ichthyosaur, curious, brave, ventures closer. Its eyes widen at the shimmering spectacle. It lunges playfully into the edge of the school, causing a cascading ripple of movement like a curtain of living mirrors folding and unfolding. But hidden within that silver mass is another presence, a shadow moving far too precisely to be a fish, too intentional, too focused. It darts once, twice, and suddenly, from the swarm, a creature bursts forward, long, eel-bodied, its jaw lined with needle-like teeth, a nothosaur, an older relative from earlier eras, but in this place still holding on in pockets of survival. It darts at the ichthyosaur, not out of territorial aggression, but driven by hunger. The ichthyosaur reacts instantly, twisting its body with remarkable agility, diving downward. Its tail flicks with a burst of speed, carrying it into a spiral descent the nothosaur cannot match. The older predator snaps at empty water, frustrated, then retreats back into the school, using the shimmering silver bodies as cover. The young ichthyosaur slows its descent, breathing deeply, heart racing, but unhurt. This will not be the last time it faces danger. In this sea, threats come from every direction, in every shape, from creatures that have existed for tens of millions of years before it was born. But it is growing stronger, faster, wiser. In the distance, the ocean floor glows faintly with drifting sparkles. Clouds of minerals rise from cracks in the seabed. Underwater springs release nutrient-rich plumes that feed entire ecosystems. Strange tube worms sway gently. Worm-like creatures with armored plates crawl over the rocks. Life here is slow, ancient, patient. Above them, drifting quietly, a small group of plesiosaurs glide in formation. They move almost hypnotically, their long necks swaying with the rhythm of the current. Their bodies cast elongated shadows on the sea floor that stretch and swirl like ghosts beneath them. Near them, a cluster of ammonites pulse upward, their tentacles trailing faintly. They gather near the plumes, feeding on microorganisms carried upward by the rising flow. For a moment, all is calm. But a distant tremor ripples through the water, subtle at first, then stronger. The seafloor vibrates gently. The drifting sediments swirl. Deep beneath us, massive tectonic forces shift. The continents that will one day become familiar landmasses move by millimeters each year, dragging oceans with them. But here, in this moment, the tremor is only a small whisper, a hint of the planet's endless reshaping. The plesiosaurs sense the vibration and turn away, their instincts urging them toward deeper waters. The ammonites scatter, pulsing upward in delicate spirals. The ocean darkens. A shadow looms. The first mosasaur returns, not hunting now, but cruising with the calm authority of a ruler surveying its kingdom. It glides over the reef, over the drifting ammonites, over the vast expanse of this prehistoric world. Its presence is felt by every creature within sight. Even the water seems to grow still in its wake. And then, with powerful strokes, it vanishes into a canyon of deep blue, leaving behind only silence, only drifting particles, only the soft glow of organisms dancing in the light. Caught in the quiet aftermath, the young ichthyosaur surfaces far above for a breath of air. It breaks the surface with a quiet ripple, exhaling softly into the warm prehistoric air before diving back down, the day's lessons imprinted into its instincts. And as the sun lowers in this ancient world, the sea prepares for its next transformation. Far below, in the deepening twilight, pale lights begin to flicker. Not lightning, not reflections, but living creatures igniting the water around them. The ancient night is coming. The light fades from the surface as the prehistoric day drifts toward dusk, and with every passing moment the ocean grows darker, quieter, more mysterious. Colors shift from bright turquoise to deep cobalt, then to a muted velvet blue that seems to stretch into eternity. The warmth of the sun slips away, replaced by a cool stillness that settles over the water like a blanket. The ancient sea begins to glow, not from the sky, but from the life within it. Small points of bioluminescence flicker in the dark like drifting embers. Tiny organisms ignite with pulses of green and blue, spreading shimmering waves of light that ripple gently through the water. Clouds of plankton shimmer. Small jelly-like creatures flash once, twice, then fade, like memories dissolving into sleep. As night falls, the ocean becomes a different realm, an alien landscape illuminated by the glow of 1,000 silent lanterns. Our young ichthyosaur glides back into view, the dim light reflecting in its enormous eyes. Those eyes, perfectly adapted to night hunting, widen slightly as the first glow catches its attention. It slows, turning its head with curious, almost childlike wonder. Light dances across its snout and along the curve of its dorsal fin, painting it in drifting blues and greens. A school of bioluminescent fish passes beneath it, leaving a trail of shimmering sparks in their wake. The ichthyosaur follows them, not to hunt, but simply fascinated, weaving gently through their glowing trail. Every twist of its body creates new ripples of light, as if the water itself is responding to its movements. But the night sea does not belong only to the gentle and curious. Below, deeper still, a shape stirs, 3 meters long, its tentacles drifting like pale ribbons, its body encased in a spiral shell that gleams faintly with mineral sheen. A giant ammonite, far older and larger than the one we saw before, floats upward through the darkness. Its tentacles pulse with steady rhythm, each movement deliberate. The patterns on its shell catch the glow of drifting plankton, creating swirling reflections that echo the spiral of galaxies. It is rising for its nightly routine, following microscopic life that drifts toward the surface under the cover of darkness. This vertical migration, performed by countless organisms across millions of years, is one of the oldest rhythms on Earth. Long before humans, before forests, even before insects colonized land, the oceans performed this nightly breathing, life rising and falling in an ancient cycle. The ammonite rises slowly, steadily, a gentle giant moving with a grace that belies the strength coiled within its tentacles. Far above it, the young ichthyosaur is still weaving among glowing shoals. But this time, it is not alone. From the right, sliding into view with silent authority, a plesiosaur drifts in. Its long neck curves like a pale ribbon through the water, and the glowing organisms illuminate its smooth skin in rippling patterns. At night, this giant becomes an apparition, its silhouette ghostly, its movements slow and dreamlike. For a moment, it observes the ichthyosaur, not as a predator, not as competition, but with detached curiosity. The two species rarely interact directly, occupying different parts of the food web. The plesiosaur's large eyes watch as the young reptile plays. Then, with a slow shift of its flippers, it glides deeper, searching for prey hidden in the dark. Below, the ammonite finally emerges into the upper layers of the sea. Here, it joins hundreds of others rising from the depths, a drifting city of spiraled shells, each one moving gracefully through the glowing water. Their combined presence creates a sea of curling silhouettes that move like a slow-motion ballet, each pulse of tentacles igniting faint lights in their wake. But among these drifting shapes, something else moves. A flicker, a flash, a disturbance. Then, silence. Below the ammonites, hidden almost perfectly against the dark, glides a predator perfectly adapted to nighttime hunting. Its body is smooth and serpentine, its tail long and muscular. Its jaws open silently underwater, revealing rows of sharp, slender teeth. A small pliosaur, a close relative of the plesiosaur, but built for power rather than reach. Its skull is large, its bite force monstrous compared to its size. While plesiosaurs have long necks for sweeping prey out of the water column, pliosaurs have strong, compact builds that make them deadly ambush hunters. This one is young, just a few years old, perhaps 3 meters long. But it is hungry. It glides upward beneath a cluster of ammonites, positioning itself directly under one. The dim light above silhouettes their shells against the dark water. The pliosaur waits. Its body remains completely still. Then, with a burst of speed, it strikes upward like a living spear. Its jaws close around an ammonite's soft body with a soundless snap. The shell cracks under pressure. The ammonite's glow fades as it becomes part of the pliosaur's late-night meal. The others scatter, pulsing frantically upward, their spiraled bodies swirling in disarray as they flee the unseen predator. But the night sea remains calm. There is no chaos here, no panic, only the timeless exchange between hunter and hunted that has shaped life since its earliest days. Our young ichthyosaur drifts away from the glowing shoals, uncertain of the distant ripple it heard. Its instincts tingle faintly, urging caution. It descends a few meters, watching the shadowed water below. Then it sees it. For a brief moment, the pliosaur's silhouette crosses into view, just a shadow gliding beneath the flickering lights. Its powerful body moves with lethal grace. Its eyes shimmer faintly, fixed on deeper prey. The ichthyosaur keeps a safe distance, drifting silently behind a curtain of planktonic glow. It watches the pliosaur vanish into the deeper dark. Then it resumes its slow, almost meditative swimming pattern, letting the calm of the night's waters lull it into tranquil drift. Far above, the moon begins to rise, huge, pale, and distorted by the prehistoric sky's hazy atmosphere. Its light shivers through the water, mixing with the bioluminescence, until the entire sea looks like a swirling dreamscape, a canvas of pale gold and ghostly blue. The plesiosaur mother returns now. She swims close to the surface with her young beside her. The little one struggles to keep up, but the night stillness eases its effort. The mother occasionally touches it with her long neck, reassuring, guiding, teaching. Tonight, she is headed for the shallow reef, a place where predators are fewer, where caves and coral towers create safe pockets to rest. Her flippers glide silently, almost tenderly, as she threads between ancient coral structures that glow faintly with the light of tiny organisms living upon them. In a narrow passageway of coral, she pauses. Her child nuzzles close to her side. She curls her neck protectively around it. An ancient gesture, seen not only in fossils, but in the very structure of their bones, which reveal a level of maternal care that once flourished across the sea. As she settles in the safety of the coral cavern, her child rests, breathing softly, flippers still trembling with the exhaustion of the day's lessons. The mother keeps watch, her eyes reflecting both the moonlight and the bioluminescent shimmer drifting through the water. Meanwhile, the giant ammonite from earlier continues its ascent toward the surface. It is old, very old, and tonight the currents have carried it farther than usual. Near the surface, the water is warmer. The plankton are abundant. And with the moon overhead, the world seems peaceful. But the ammonite does not notice the faint disturbance in the water behind it. A pressure wave, a shadow. Something larger than any hunter it has faced recently. The ammonite pulses its tentacles to rise higher, but the movement is too slow. The shadow accelerates. A familiar outline emerges. Long body, powerful tail, eyes made for the dim. The mosasaur. Its approach is silent, deceptive. It does not lunge immediately. It circles once, observing the ammonite's size. Even a giant ammonite is hardly a full meal for such a creature. But tonight, it is enough. The ammonite senses danger at last. It releases a cloud of shimmering ink, a brilliant burst of pale silver that swirls in luminous whirls. The cloud spreads beautifully, almost hypnotic in the moonlit water, drifting upward like glassy smoke. But the mosasaur does not slow. It plunges through the ink cloud with unstoppable momentum, jaws open in a broad sweep. The ammonite shell cracks cleanly in the immense pressure between its teeth. A deep, muted sound that vibrates through the water. Splinters of the shell drift downward, catching the glowing light like fragments of fallen stars. The mosasaur swallows the soft body within, satisfied. Its tail flicks once, sending it gliding away with a slow, regal movement. It is not hunting aggressively. This is simply a passing meal in an ocean filled with opportunity. But its presence shifts the balance of everything around it. Fish scatter, glow flickers, currents change. Even the young ichthyosaur, still far away, feels the echo of the predator's movement through the water. It pauses, turning toward the distant tremor, sensing an ancient instinct awaken. It's learning the difference between harmless shadows and true danger. Far below, in the deeper part of the sea, the pliosaur hunts again. It dives into a canyon where the water turns cold and the dark reaches farther than light can follow. Here, strange creatures glide, eel-like fish with elongated jaws, shrimp with oversized eyes perched atop stalks, and pale, gelatinous organisms drifting like ghostly curtains. The pliosaur navigates the canyon's twists with ease. It knows these hunting grounds. It has grown up in these passages, ambushing prey that stray too close to the walls. Tonight, it finds what it seeks, a large, slow-swimming fish with armor-like scales, nearly blind, relying on sensory organs to navigate the gloom. The pliosaur moves closer, and then the ancient dance of predator and prey begins again, silent and swift. Above, the night deepens into full darkness. The moon travels across the sky, and the ocean glows brighter in its absence, life illuminating itself from within. Bioluminescent predators stalk bioluminescent prey. Drifting plankton flicker like constellations. Even the shadows shift with gentle internal light. And in the midst of this glowing tapestry, the young ichthyosaur begins to tire. Its movements become slow, rhythmic, almost meditative. It rises for air once more, breaking the surface with a gentle sigh. The moon hangs massive above, its reflection shimmering on the calm prehistoric sea like liquid silver. The little reptile inhales deeply, then descends again, seeking a place to rest near the warmth of the shallows. It drifts downward into a bed of soft, waving marine plants, ancient relatives of modern seaweed. They sway softly, brushing against its sides, as if welcoming it into sleep. The ichthyosaur curls slightly, floating just above the sea floor, eyes half closed. Night has come fully now, and with it a calm that blankets the ancient ocean. But the world is not still. Not yet. In the distance, deeper than any creature above can see, the seafloor trembles again. A faint rumble, a shifting of plates, the beginning of something that will one day, millions of years from now, reshape continents. For now, it is only a whisper, a reminder that even in the most tranquil moments, the earth remains alive. The plesiosaur mother watches her sleeping child. The ammonite shells drift like pale moons across the water. The pliosaur patrols the canyon, and far above, the mosasaur turns its great head toward distant vibrations, sensing shifts in the deep that only a true ruler of the sea can feel. The prehistoric night stretches on, filled with life, with death, with motion, with stillness. A world breathing slowly, endlessly. And dawn is coming. Dawn begins not with light, but with temperature. The first hint of morning in the ancient sea is a subtle warming of surface waters, a gentle shift that drifts downward like a sigh of relief after the long, glowing night. Far below, the plesiosaur mother stirs. Her long neck shifts slightly, her eyes blinking open in slow, deliberate motions. Beside her, her young nestles close, still drifting in the soft half-sleep of deep-water reptiles. Above them, the first pale traces of sunlight stretch into the water, faint, muted beams that waver like delicate curtains. The glow of the night's bioluminescence fades gradually, like lanterns extinguished one by one. The drifting plankton dim. The nocturnal hunters retreat to deeper shadows. The ocean changes its mood, preparing for the rhythms of the new day. In the distant shallows, our young ichthyosaur awakens. Its eyes blink open with slow curiosity, its body rising gently with a small upward pulse of its tail. The seaweed around it sways in slow circles, brushing its sides as it lifts into the brighter water. As it ascends, its large eyes adjust quickly, shrinking from night-expanded pupils to the narrower, sharper gaze needed for daytime clarity. The first true rays of sunlight break through the surface now in shimmering lines that stretch down like golden spears. They scatter off drifting dust, off tiny organisms, off the shimmering bodies of early morning fish rising from deeper layers. The entire ocean seems to breathe in the new day, filling with motion, color, and possibility. The ichthyosaur swims slowly upward, breaking through the final layers of dim light into the warm, glowing upper sea. It lifts its head above the surface with a soft splash, releasing a quiet exhalation, a sound that disappears instantly into the soft morning breeze. The prehistoric sky above is an entirely different world, thick with moisture, heavy clouds drifting low across a landscape of ancient continents, their shapes alien compared to the modern world. The air is warm, rich with volcanic gases, and heavy with humidity that has been trapped over the ocean for millions of years. The reptile takes a long breath, its nostrils widening slightly. Then, with graceful ease, It submerges again, sending small ripples across the still morning surface. Far below, the plesiosaur mother senses the shift in temperature and slowly rises from her sheltered coral cave. Her long neck curves like a question mark, tasting the water ahead of her. The young plesiosaur swims at her flank, mimicking her movements more closely now, learning how to steer, how to glide, how to read the world through subtle water pressure and changing light. Mother and child drift upward through a field of ancient coral that resembles strange forests made of stone, their surfaces alive with tiny organisms that wave gently in the current. Sunlight reaches them as they emerge from the reef. The mother slows, stretching her neck far upward, her head breaking the surface in a gentle, rippling motion. The youngster follows eagerly, its smaller head bobbing as it draws its morning breath. The two reptiles float side by side, silhouettes glistening against the sunrise. But tranquility is always temporary in the ancient sea. Not far away, something large is moving. The plesiosaur mother senses it before she sees it, a shift in water pressure, faint but unmistakable. Her head lowers slightly, eyes narrowing as she scans the horizon under the surface. Then she sees it. A giant silhouette approaches from the deeper blue, outlined sharply by the rising sun behind it. A long, muscular body, a massive head, powerful flippers, and a tail that moves in wide, confident strokes. The mosasaur. It glides closer, not with the abrupt speed of a predator chasing prey, but with the casual authority of an apex hunter surveying its territory at dawn. The plesiosaur mother tenses slightly, positioning herself between the mosasaur and her young. Her long neck coils carefully, prepared to strike with surprising force if needed. But the mosasaur pays her little attention. It moves past her with a lazy, sweeping motion, its great eye glancing at her only for a moment. The early morning makes it less aggressive. Like most reptiles, its energy builds with heat, with time. For now, it is simply patrolling, marking its place in a world where only the strongest thrive. Its massive body casts a shadow over the plesiosaur pair. The young one drifts backward instinctively, but the mother stays firm, her body rigid until the shadow fades. Only then does she allow her muscles to relax. The mosasaur continues toward deeper waters, its silhouette shrinking slowly into the brightening haze, leaving behind a trail of drifting particles and a lingering tension that gradually dissolves. The ichthyosaur, having swum farther along the coastal shallows, begins to explore the morning feeding grounds. Small fish dart through the new light, glittering like coins scattered across the water. The ichthyosaur's movements become faster now, livelier. Daylight makes it confident, energized. It darts into a school of dart-shaped fish, snapping them up one by one with rapid strikes. The school fractures and reforms in swirling patterns, scattering then rejoining like living silver smoke. The young reptile pursues them through the shallow reef, weaving between coral towers and darting around giant sea fans that sway like ancient banners. Its sleek body is perfectly designed for this kind of hunting. Fast acceleration, tight turning, powerful vision, and a keen sense of water movement. But something unexpected is lurking ahead. A sudden flash of movement. A large armored fish bursts from behind a coral structure, fleeing with frantic speed. The ichthyosaur slows instantly, sensing danger. And then, from the shadows behind the fleeing fish, a shape barrels out like a living torpedo. A juvenile pliosaur, the same hunter we witnessed in the canyon during the night. Though mostly a creature of deeper, darker waters, the early morning coolness and the shifting currents have brought it into the shallows in search of new prey. The ichthyosaur reacts with instinctual precision, twisting its body sharply to avoid the pliosaur's snapping jaws. The pliosaur sails past, missing the strike by inches. Its powerful fins churn the water, stirring sediment into swirling clouds. The ichthyosaur flees through the coral, beating its tail in rapid bursts. The pliosaur turns sharply, but not as sharply as the smaller reptile. For a moment, the two animals race through shifting beams of sunlight, their bodies flickering between gold and blue as they weave through the prehistoric forest of coral. Finally, the ichthyosaur slips into a narrow crevice between two tall formations, too tight for the pliosaur to follow. The hunter slows, jaws open slightly, its breath drifting in silent bubbles. Frustration ripples through its posture. After a few tense seconds, it turns away, seeking easier targets. Inside the narrow passage, the ichthyosaur stills its movements entirely, letting drifting silt settle around it. Its heart slows. Its senses sharpen. Only when it feels safe, when the water no longer carries the heavy vibrations of the pliosaur's presence, does it cautiously emerge back into open water. It has survived again, and with each escape, its instincts become sharper, its awareness deeper. The plesiosaur mother, farther away, glides through a sheltered region where the water sparkles with filtered light. Here, wide plains of soft sediment stretch between coral towers, creating gentle pathways that her young can practice navigating. She slows her pace to match the youngsters, letting it experiment with movement, with balance, with the art of turning its body through different angles. She nudges it gently, encouraging it to explore a little farther each time. Its movements grow steadier, more confident. It dips and rises, learning to adjust its buoyancy. It follows its mother in looping patterns, mimicking her long sweeps. But a distant sound interrupts the lesson. A deep, rumbling boom travels through the water, like thunder rolling across a hidden canyon. And then another. The young plesiosaur freezes. The mother lifts her head sharply, scanning the horizon. The vibrations grow stronger, consistent, rhythmic, powerful. These are not predators. These are not natural movements of animals. These are tremors. Far from this sea, deep beneath the crust of the earth, immense tectonic forces shift. The continents continue their slow drift across the planet. Buried faults strain against one another. Pressure builds until the ancient rock can no longer contain it. A distant section of the seabed jolts, sending shockwaves through the water. Sediment erupts in tall, swirling plumes. The plesiosaur mother backs away, gathering her child close. Their bodies sway with the tremor's pulse. Elsewhere, the pliosaur halts mid-pursuit, as vibrations travel through the canyon walls, unsettling entire columns of drifting silt. The ichthyosaur freezes, body rigid, sensing danger it cannot comprehend. Even the mosasaur, far out in deeper waters, stops its calm glide, its instincts prickling with awareness. It tilts its great head, listening to the earth itself. The tremors continue for long seconds. Then, slowly, they fade. The water settles. Sediment drifts back to the seafloor like ancient snow. The ocean exhales. Silence returns. The plesiosaur mother moves first, nudging her trembling young, steadying it. She guides it towards safer, calmer waters. The ichthyosaur resumes its slow swimming. The pliosaur returns to its hunting grounds. Life continues. The earth shifts, and the sea absorbs it all with timeless patience. In the mid-morning light, a new scene unfolds. drifting through a region of open, warm water. A vast bloom of plankton marks the site of an upwelling. Cold, nutrient-rich water rising from deeper layers to feed life near the surface. This bloom attracts thousands of creatures. Fish, invertebrates, reptiles, all drawn to the abundance. The ichthyosaur arrives first. It dives into the bloom with eager hunger, snapping at the abundant small fish that swarm among the drifting cloud. Its body twists with joy, tail sweeping in smooth arcs as it chases shimmering flashes of movement. Then, from the opposite direction, the plesiosaur mother arrives with her young. She keeps her distance from the densest part of the bloom, watching for larger predators. The youngster nibbles at small fish that stray from the main swarm, practicing the art of pursuit. But as the water fills with life, another silhouette approaches. Long neck, broad body, flippers moving with perfect synchrony. A different plesiosaur, not the mother we know. This one larger, older, solitary. It glides into view like an enormous ship made of flesh, its head sweeping side to side as it scans for opportunity. Its movements are slow but precise, each turn calculated. The young ichthyosaur senses it first and veers away, understanding instinctively that too many predators gathering in one place means danger. Even creatures that do not hunt each other may compete, collide, or spark fights. The mother plesiosaur positions herself between the newcomer and her young, holding her place. The larger plesiosaur watches her with impassive calm. Their species often tolerate one another, but tension can rise depending on hunger, territory, and mood. For a brief moment, the two giant reptiles float in the water, facing one another, necks swaying gently. Their bodies cast long shadows across the bloom of life beneath them. The young one watches nervously, drifting closer to its mother. Then, the larger plesiosaur simply turns away, uninterested in conflict. It glides into the bloom with serene confidence, scooping up fish with quick sweeps of its head, neck bending with elegant efficiency. The mother relaxes. The young one resumes its tentative feeding, and the sea continues its quiet dance. But this peaceful moment holds a secret. Something else is approaching. From the darker blue below, a faint silhouette grows larger, more massive than any creature currently feeding. Its presence is subtle at first, a slow rise in water pressure, a faint shift in current. Then, gradually, its shape becomes clear. The mosasaur. It rises from the depths with controlled power, drawn by the movement and abundance above. The ichthyosaur spots it and dives instantly to safety. The young plesiosaur presses against its mother as she backs away from the bloom. The larger plesiosaur lifts its head sharply, watching the imposing predator ascend. The mosasaur breaks through the lower edge of the bloom, a kingdom of light and movement swirling around its huge form. Schools of fish scatter in every direction. The plankton cloud parts as the shadow of the great reptile passes through it. For a moment, the mosasaur slows, eyes sweeping the predators around it. 2 plesiosaurs, a young ichthyosaur in the distance. It considers its options. Its hunger rises with the warming day. But today, these creatures are not its target. Instead, it dives into the densest part of the bloom, jaws opening wide in a single sweeping motion. Fish vanish into its mouth in shimmering cascades. Its body twists with surprising agility, carving through the water like a living storm. The plesiosaurs keep their distance. The ichthyosaur retreats further. Even the pliosaur, far away in the canyon, senses a change in the rhythm of the sea. The mosasaur feeds until its hunger subsides, then drifts back toward deeper waters, leaving behind a disrupted bloom slowly reforming in the morning light. As calm returns, the young ichthyosaur resurfaces for air. The plesiosaur mother guides her child into quieter regions, and the day continues to unfold, filled with ancient rhythms and endless motion. Above, clouds drift across the sky. Below, drifting life settles once more. And deeper still, another shift begins. One that will change not just this day, but the future of the entire ocean. But for now, the ancient world drifts in sunlight, waiting for what comes next. Midday approaches, and with it comes a transformation in the ancient sea. The gentle golden light of morning sharpens into a bright, shimmering blaze that penetrates deep into the blue world below. Shadows stretch and shrink with the shifting angle of the sun, and creatures across the ocean adjust their rhythms to the height of the day. Near the surface, the young ichthyosaur swims lazily in the warming currents. The heat energizes its muscles, tightening the coils of power in its tail. As the sun climbs higher, the ichthyosaur dives deep and rises again, enjoying the dance between warm and cool layers of water. It chases small fish not out of hunger, but out of restless curiosity, darting through swarms of silver bodies that scatter like living shards of light. The underwater world glows with brilliance. Corals flash in pastel hues beneath the bright sun. Plankton drift in swirling patterns, filling the sea with flecks of gold and green. Schools of fish shimmer like polished metal as they spiral in vast, coordinated movements. The ocean, now fully awake, is alive with motion and color. But even as the world brightens, the deeper waters hold secrets. Far below, where sunlight begins to fade into dusky blue, the canyon, where the juvenile pliosaur hunts, is stirring with new life. A swarm of armored fish moves through the canyon, their plated scales glinting in faint beams of filtered light. They gather here every day at midday, feeding on organisms that cling to canyon walls and drifting particles brought in by currents. The pliosaur watches from a shadowed alcove, its body still as stone, its muscles tense, its eyes narrow. It waits for the perfect moment. Then, with breathtaking speed, it bursts forward from the dark. Its jaws snap shut around one of the plated fish, with a satisfying crunch that vibrates through the water. The prey struggles briefly in its grasp before going still. The pliosaur swallows and flexes its neck. It turns sharply and darts deeper into the canyon to find another target. But this time, the armored swarm reacts quickly, tightening into a compact defensive formation. Their bodies overlap and interlock in a shifting wall of scales, their collective movement synchronized into a single living shield. The pliosaur lunges once, twice, but cannot penetrate their barrier. It circles them, frustrated, its jaws snapping at empty water. After a few more futile attempts, it abandons the chase, gliding back into the deeper shadows. Its hunger is dulled but not satisfied. It will return later, when the swarm disperses again. Back in the open sea, the plesiosaur mother and her young move steadily along the edge of the great reef. The warmth of midday comforts them, and the mother moves with slow, deliberate sweeps of her flippers, making minimal effort as the currents guide her. The youngster follows close behind, occasionally rising toward the sunlit surface to breathe, then diving back down to explore. The reef itself is a dazzling maze. Corals rising like towers, arches formed by ancient skeletons of long-dead polyps, and hidden pockets where life congregates in small, vibrant cities. Fish of every shape, long, slender needles, flat, diamond-shaped swimmers, and brilliant, shimmering species with living neon patterns drift through the reef with rhythmic grace. The youngster is mesmerized, turning its head at every new shape, every new movement. The mother guides it gently, teaching it which regions are safe, which narrow passages hide dangers, and where the warm currents can be used like invisible pathways through the vast ocean. Above them, sunlight flickers in mesmerizing patterns, distorted by small waves on the surface. The sea seems peaceful, placid, shimmering, serene. But the ancient world rarely stays calm for long. A sudden shift in water pressure ripples through the reef. Fish scatter. Coral polyps retract. A hush seems to fall over the sea. Even the plankton shifts subtly in their drifting patterns. The plesiosaur mother freezes mid-swim, her long neck stretching upward with acute attention. The youngster stops beside her, sensing tension. A pulse moves through the water, slow, heavy, powerful. Another. Then a distant sound, a low, resonant rumble that vibrates through coral and bone alike. The mosasaur is returning. It approaches from deeper waters, its silhouette massive, framed by the brilliant glow of the midday sun overhead. Its tail swings powerfully. Its flippers glide with silent mastery. It moves with the kind of confidence only a creature at the very top of its world possesses. Today, its hunger is sharper. Warmer water fuels its cold-blooded metabolism, and the morning's hunt only whetted its appetite. The plesiosaur mother nudges her child behind a large coral pillar. She positions herself defensively, ready to shield the youngster with her own body if necessary. Her heart beats faster, but her movements remain calm. Instinct guides her. Experience guides her. The mosasaur sweeps through the reef like a living storm. Fish scatter in frantic eruptions of silver flashes. Schools split apart, swirling chaotically. Even the coral seems to tremble as the predator passes. The mosasaur slows as it approaches the plesiosaur's location. Its massive head turns slightly, one eye focusing on the mother. Its pupil narrows. Its nostrils taste the water. Then it glides closer. The plesiosaur mother does not back down. She coils her neck slightly, ready to strike with the full strength of her muscles. Her flippers dig into the water in slow, forceful strokes, anchoring her in place. The two giants arrive at a silent standoff. The mosasaur moves closer still, circling once. It inspects her from multiple angles, tail sweeping behind it with slow, lethal grace. The child remains motionless, tucked between columns of coral, watching wide-eyed. The mosasaur pauses, face to face with the mother. Its jaws open slightly, not in a strike, but in a testing display, revealing rows of long needle-sharp teeth curved like ivory sides. Its breath releases a stream of bubbles. The plesiosaur mother holds her position. Seconds pass like slow years. Finally, the mosasaur lifts its head, decides she is not worth the energy or risk, and turns away. Its massive body glides through the reef, scattering fish in its wake, then angles downward into deeper blue. Only after it disappears into the gloom does the plesiosaur mother relax. She lowers her neck, lets out a slow exhalation, and nudges her young gently. The child emerges from hiding, trembling slightly but unharmed. The mother guides it onward, away from the danger zone. But elsewhere in the ocean, danger finds a different target. The young ichthyosaur, having drifted far from the reef in its pursuit of midday schools, explores an open plain of sparkling water. Fish leap in and out of the sunlit surface. Shoals move in vast coordinated formations that shift like rolling dunes. It is mesmerizing. The ichthyosaur swims toward a school of small fish, but its attention is caught by something else. A strange ripple in the water ahead. Not a wave, not a shadow, something smoother, more controlled. Curious, it approaches slowly. The water suddenly explodes beside it in a burst of foam and scales. A huge armored fish lunges from below, panicked and fleeing. And behind it, rising like a monstrous silhouette from the deep, comes a fully grown pliosaur, far larger than the juvenile we followed. Its skull alone is longer than the ichthyosaur's entire body. Its jaws are built for crushing bone. Its eyes burn with predatory focus. It surges upward, chasing the armored fish with terrifying speed. The ichthyosaur flees instantly, tail beating in rapid bursts that propel it forward. The predator ignores it, its attention locked on the larger prey ahead, but the encounter shakes the ichthyosaur to its core. The pliosaur lunges again, jaws closing on the armored fish in a violent, decisive snap. The fish's body stiffens, then falls limp. The pliosaur shakes its head once, sending fragments of scale and bone drifting like shattered glass. Then it swallows the prey with slow satisfaction, watching the ichthyosaur flee into the distance. For the ichthyosaur, this moment becomes a hard lesson. The deeper waters are beautiful, but they belong to the most dangerous hunters of the sea. And not all predators are as patient or selective as the mosasaur. It stays near the surface for a long while afterward, circling in gentle patterns, heart still racing, muscles trembling. Still, danger is not the only force shaping this ancient world. Far below the bright surface, deeper changes continue to unfold in the earth itself. Tectonic plates shift, pressure builds. The seabed trembles again, but stronger this time. Boulders shift in underwater canyons. Sediment lifts in expanding clouds, swirling through the water like volcanic smoke. In the distance, a low rumble echoes through the deep, a sound so powerful that even the mosasaur pauses, lifting its head. The ichthyosaur feels it as a small vibration in its bones. The plesiosaur mother senses it as a tremble that moves through the reef. The pliosaur, deep in the canyon, feels the very rock beneath it shudder. The ocean becomes tense, still, expectant. Something immense is happening beneath the crust of the ancient earth. But for now, the tremors fade once more. Life resumes. The ichthyosaur dives again, its fear fading. The plesiosaur mother resumes her slow journey with her child. The pliosaur turns to seek new prey, and the mosasaur, sensing the deep rumble, moves toward the darker waters where it feels the heart of the earth beating. The sea continues under the bright midday sun, ancient and alive, holding within it creatures whose stories stretch across millions of years, stories still unfolding, still shifting, like the very planet beneath them. And the day is far from over. The midday sun begins its slow descent, and with it the colors of the ancient sea soften. The harsh white brilliance fades into warmer tones, yellows deepening into amber, blues turning to gentle green. The surface glimmers with rippling highlights, like liquid gold shifting with every wave. It is the most peaceful part of the day, a time when the water grows warm, the current steady, and many creatures move in slow, easy rhythms. The young ichthyosaur drifts through a gently rolling field of sunlit water, calmer now after the frightening encounter with the fully grown pliosaur. It keeps close to the surface, where light is strongest and predators are fewer. Schools of tiny fish drift nearby like delicate curtains shimmering in the glow. Some brush past its snout, tiny bodies tickling its skin. The ichthyosaur moves among them without hunting, letting their touch soothe its rattled instincts. Below, the reef glows softly. Sunlight filters into the coral network, creating brilliant mosaics of color. The plesiosaur mother and her young swim near the reef's outer edge, where the water is warmest. The young plesiosaur plays, gliding in loose circles around its mother, occasionally diving through patches of light, like a child running through drifting dust motes. The mother watches it, with eyes half-lidded in calm contentment. For the first time today, she allows true relaxation to creep into her limbs. She floats, almost motionlessly, her long neck resting on a gentle curve as the currents cradle her. She closes her eyes briefly, then opens them again, not fully sleeping, but resting in the alert, half-aware way that reptiles must. The young one climbs higher in the water column, its small head breaking the surface. The sky above is a vast canvas of white and gold, clouds drifting lazily. Gentle wind rattles the surface just enough to stir waves that cast dancing shadows below. But something else stirs in the shallows. The ichthyosaur turns its head suddenly, detecting a tremor in the water, something large moving quickly, but not with the smooth, powerful rhythm of a mosasaur or pliosaur. This movement is erratic, jittery, panicked. A moment later, a large, strange shape bursts into view. A broad-bodied fish with an armored head, its scales thick like plated shields. It thrashes wildly, zigzagging through the shallows. A moment later, another fish follows in the opposite direction, almost colliding with the ichthyosaur before darting away. The ichthyosaur backs away instinctively. Strange. Fish flee predators every day, but this panic is different. It's chaotic, uncontrolled, widespread. The plesiosaur mother senses it too. She lifts her head sharply, her eyes scanning for disturbances. Her young one circles closer to her, sensing its mother's sudden tension. Then the water shifts, not with life, with movement of the earth. A deep, rolling tremor courses across the seabed. The ocean floor shudders in a long, wavering pulse. Sand lifts in great sweeping clouds. Boulders buried for centuries shift an inch or two before settling again. Coral fragments shake loose and drift downward like ancient snowfall. The sound is unlike anything the animals know, deep, muted, and far-reaching. A sound that seems to come not from the water, but from the bones of the planet. Everything pauses. Everything listens. The young ichthyosaur stops mid-motion, its body stiff. The plesiosaur mother presses her young against the reef wall, using her body as a brace. The juvenile pliosaur in the canyon freezes in the dim light, its limbs held motionless as the entire gorge hums with the tremor. Even the mosasaur, far in deeper water, halts its patrol. It turns slowly, head tilted, sensing the vibration echoing through the vastness of its territory. The ocean seems to hold its breath, and then, for a moment, all is still again. But the fish know better. Before the reptiles can fully relax, the fish panic rises again, this time with twice the frenzy. Schools scatter in twisted spirals. Large species erupt from sandbeds and dart through the water like arrows. Even the small, delicate creatures retreat into coral crevices. Something is coming. The ichthyosaur moves closer to the surface, seeking safety. The plesiosaur mother urges her young into a narrow canyon in the reef, tucking it under a protective overhang. She stays outside, guarding the entrance, eyes sweeping the horizon. The tremors intensify. Silt erupts from the seabed in thick plumes that swirl upward like black smoke. Coral towers shake again. Cracks spread across the sea floor, each one releasing small jets of trapped gas that shimmer and bubble toward the surface. Then the water pressure changes, a sudden, powerful pull. A deep water current surges upward, cold and forceful, sweeping across the reef with surprising speed. It dislodges small organisms and sends them tumbling. It chills the water around the plesiosaurs, startling the young one. It pushes the ichthyosaur backward several meters, leaving it struggling to maintain position. The animals brace themselves against the surge. This is not a normal current. The mosasaur feels its strongest. Deep below, where tectonic forces press and buckle the earth, the pulsing pressure grows. The mosasaur's instincts flare. It turns sharply and accelerates upward, knowing without understanding that something deep beneath it is changing rapidly. At the reef, vibrations spread through the coral walls, causing small collapses of brittle structures. The plesiosaur mother shields her child from falling debris. The ichthyosaur dives deeper, trying to find calmer water beneath the surge. But the pressure continues to climb. And then it happens. A massive plume erupts from the seafloor miles away, far enough that the animals are not destroyed, but close enough that the shockwave reaches them with devastating force. Superheated water, gas, and mineral-rich sediment burst upward in a colossal underwater explosion. The shockwave spreads as a rolling wall of displaced water, sweeping outward in all directions like the pulse of an enormous heartbeat. The plesiosaur mother senses the danger a split second before it arrives. She wraps her neck around her young and tucks herself into the reef crevice, bracing her flippers against the stone. The ichthyosaur is caught mid-swim as the shockwave hits. A violent surge slams into its body, knocking the breath from its lungs. It spins uncontrollably, tumbling through clouds of silt and debris. Its tail strikes a piece of coral, sending pain shooting through its spine. It flails, trying to right itself. The juvenile pliosaur is thrown backward in its canyon, colliding with the rocky wall. It growls silently, dazed, as silt engulfs the canyon like a massive storm. The mosasaur, closer to the epicenter, is nearly rolled in the surge. It twists its massive body, using the full power of its tail to stabilize. Its jaws clench. Its muscles strain against the force of the water. The shockwave passes. Silence follows. A thick cloud of silt spreads across the ocean like a fog bank, darkening everything. Light dims, shapes disappear. The sea turns murky, disorienting, almost claustrophobic. For long moments, no creature moves. Then slowly, life resumes motion. The ichthyosaur rises unsteadily, its body aching but alive. It swims toward clearer water, leaving a swirling trail of disturbed sediment behind it. The plesiosaur mother untangles herself from the crevice. She checks her young, nudging it gently. It is frightened, but unharmed. She touches her head to its body, a quiet reassurance that they survived. The juvenile pliosaur emerges from the canyon, shaking off silt that clings to its scales. Its eyes narrow as it navigates the darkened water, searching for familiar shapes. But the mosasaur is the first to regain full control. It slices through the murky water with commanding authority, checking its territory, re-establishing dominance. For a moment, all other creatures stay far from its silhouette, fearful, disoriented, cautious. The ocean slowly clears as currents disperse the silt. Sunlight returns in faint beams through the still settling water, and the ancient sea begins to calm once more. But something has changed. The tremors were not an attack, not a predator, not a storm. They were a reminder. A reminder that in this world, even the most powerful creatures are small compared to the earth itself. The ichthyosaur drifts in the quiet aftermath, its body still trembling with leftover adrenaline. The plesiosaur mother guides her young into calmer shallows, teaching it how to survive the chaos that sometimes erupts without warning. The pliosaur returns to deeper water, nursing its bruises, and the mosasaur, largest of them all, glides into the darkening blue, aware that the deep continues to shift beneath it, shaping the future in ways none of these creatures can foresee. The day edges toward late afternoon, sunlight softens, currents slow, and the ancient ocean prepares for the long descent into dusk once more. The afternoon settles over the prehistoric ocean like a soft, glowing veil. The waters that were shaken moments ago now slip gradually back into calm, their surfaces smoothing into shimmering sheets of copper and gold. Sunlight pours through the gentle waves in long, wavering beams that paint the underwater world in warm tones, turning each drifting particle into a tiny spark. The young ichthyosaur moves slowly now, still recovering from the shockwave that tumbled it moments earlier. It swims with careful movements, its tail sweeping in measured strokes as it adjusts its equilibrium. A faint sting lingers along its side where it brushed against sharp coral during the chaos, but the wound is superficial. Its eyes remain wide and alert, scanning the murky water for threats or surprises. Gradually, the suspended silt settles. Light regains its clarity. Shapes reappear, coral towers, fish drifting back into loose formation, and the shimmering forms of smaller creatures rising cautiously from hiding places. The sea rebuilds its rhythm as though waking from a disturbed dream. The ichthyosaur takes a deeper breath and dives toward clearer water, letting the renewed stillness soothe its trembling muscles. It finds itself near a gentle slope of sand, where sunlight reaches easily, warming the grains into a golden carpet that ripples like silk in the current. Small fish sift through the sand for food, their bodies bending gracefully as they poke and dig. Curious, the young reptile noses into the sand, disturbing a swirl of grains. Tiny crustaceans scatter. A striped fish zips away, startled. The ichthyosaur follows it briefly, amused, then releases it without pursuit. Its hunger is mild, but its curiosity is strong, a trait that might one day save its life. A deeper shadow passes overhead. Not a predator this time, but something even older. A giant ammonite. Its shell thick and spiraled with layers of mineral shimmer drifts near the surface. Its tentacles pulse in steady, rhythmic movements as it makes its slow ascent. The shockwave disrupted it as well. Its usual smooth glide replaced with a slight wobble, each movement more effortful than before. But it continues upward, driven by the instinct that has guided ammonites for millions of years. The ichthyosaur watches the drifting titan with fascination. The ammonite is ancient, possibly decades old, which, in a world as dangerous as this, is a rare achievement. Its shell is scarred, its edges worn, yet its movements are deliberate, almost regal. It rises toward the light, toward food, toward the cycle it has followed for longer than the ichthyosaur species has existed. A gentle current pushes the ammonite slightly off its path, but it adjusts effortlessly, its long tentacles extending to sense subtle changes in the water. Its spiral shell catches beams of sunlight, reflecting them in bands of copper and pearl. turning it into a slow-moving lantern, drifting through the sea. For a peaceful moment, the ocean feels ancient in a different way. Not dangerous, but wise. Not violent, but patient. But the tranquility does not last. Far out beyond the reef, deeper than the ichthyosaur dares to swim, the mosasaur has fully recovered from the shockwave. It cuts through the water now with purpose, its powerful tail propelling it forward in long, sweeping arcs. It senses opportunity. The explosion on the seabed did more than shake the water. It disrupted territories, startled prey out of hiding, and knocked injured creatures into vulnerable positions. A lesser predator would scavenge without strategy. But the mosasaur is no simple hunter. It is deliberate, calculating. Its large eyes track the slightest shifts of light and shadow. Its nostrils taste the current for chemical hints of wounded prey. Its instincts, sharpened by countless successful hunts, carry it unerringly through the deep. It drifts past a school of fish, ignoring them. Too small. It glides near a cluster of squid-like creatures, their bodies flickering with faint iridescence. Tempting, but not worth the effort when larger rewards almost certainly await. A faint vibration reaches it, a sign of irregular motion nearby. Perhaps an injured creature struggling in the aftermath of the tremor. The mosasaur changes direction, angling toward the source with interest. Meanwhile, the plesiosaur mother has settled in a quiet alcove of the reef with her young. The coral structures here form protective walls, shielding them from strong currents and offering a safe haven where the youngster can rest. The child is shaken but unharmed. It presses its head gently against its mother's side, seeking comfort. The mother bends her long neck, nudging and grooming the youngster with soft, rhythmic touches. Ancient gestures of reassurance passed down through generations of plesiosaurs. Her eyes remain alert even in this moment of tenderness, scanning for danger. The shockwave taught her that threats can come even when predators are absent. Nearby, a group of small shellfish re-emerges from the reef crevices. Their long, delicate tendrils wave gently, testing the water. A few ancient shrimp-like animals skitter across the reef floor, gathering particles stirred up by the recent disturbance. Life, resilient as ever, begins to rebuild its daily patterns. The juvenile pliosaur, deeper in its canyon, is more restless. The shockwave unsettled it deeply, and its instincts drive it to patrol its territory with renewed intensity. It glides along the canyon floor, weaving between jagged rock formations with practiced ease. Its eyes flick from shadow to shadow, ready to defend its space or seize a weakened prey. It pauses near a small outcropping where an armored fish lies injured, knocked sideways by the tremor. The pliosaur watches for a moment, then dives with swift precision. Its jaws close around the fish in a quick, efficient kill. There is no struggle, no wasted motion. The predator feeds, then continues its patrol, its confidence restored by the successful hunt. Above, the sea grows warmer as afternoon light thickens. Even the deeper waters brighten slightly, revealing hidden ridges and rock faces that usually remain cloaked in shadow. Tiny organisms rise from the depths in delicate spirals, feeding on drifting nutrients released by the upheaval. And in the midst of it all, the ichthyosaur finds a new sense of calm. It swims along the reef wall, weaving among coral spires. The afternoon light filters through the water in rippling bands that dance across its sleek body, illuminating the intricate patterns of its scales. The ichthyosaur pauses near a field of tall sea plants that wave gently like a forest of green ribbons. Here, small fish hide among the leaves, darting out only to snatch at drifting particles. The young reptile approaches slowly, observing. Its large eyes track the movements with fascination. It nudges a plant with its snout, watching it sway. But a sudden flicker catches its attention. Something glints beneath the plants, metallic, sharp, moving with a strange, deliberate rhythm. A creature emerges, long-bodied, thin, gleaming scales that reflect gold and silver. A pair of large eyes positioned forward, making it an adept hunter. A long-snouted ganoid fish, a predator known for sudden darting attacks. It freezes when it spots the ichthyosaur. Its body stiffens. Its fin trembles. For a moment, neither creature moves. Then the ganoid fish snaps forward with lightning speed. The ichthyosaur flinches back, reaction honed by countless close calls. The fish's jaws snap shut where the ichthyosaur's snout had been a heartbeat earlier. Bubbles swirl in a frenzied cloud. The ichthyosaur twists its body and darts upward, leaving the plant forest behind. The ganoid fish hesitates. Pursuing an ichthyosaur is far too risky. It retreats into the waving plants, disappearing once more among the shadows. The young ichthyosaur exhales a short burst of bubbles, heart pounding, but unharmed. It drifts toward calmer water, learning once again that danger hides in even the quietest corners of the ancient sea. As afternoon stretches toward evening, the ocean begins to change once more. The brightness dims, shadows grow longer, the water cools. Creatures of the deep begin their slow, steady rise toward the approaching dusk. The giant ammonite continues its ascent to the surface, tentacles extending in gentle pulses. But its path intersects with something unexpected, a faint current stirring from the disturbance far below. The ammonite adjusts, but something bumps against its shell. Not a predator. Debris. Fragments of stone and coral drift upward from the distant explosion, caught in subtle currents. Tiny pieces bounce gently off the ammonite's shell, harmless but startling. The creature pulses upward faster, its rhythm disrupted. Nearby, smaller ammonites rise from the depths as well, sensing both danger and opportunity. The silt that still lingers contains nutrients, food carried upward from the deep sources stirred by the earlier upheaval. For them, the event that caused chaos among reptiles brings temporary abundance. But predators notice these gatherings. Several small marine reptiles, nodosauurs and early lizard-like swimmers, emerge from cracks in the reef, attracted by the concentration of ammonites. Their movements are slow but focused, their long bodies weaving between drifting shells. They snap at small ammonites with sharp, narrow jaws, catching the soft-bodied creatures unprepared. The larger ammonite remains untouched for now, its size protecting it from opportunistic hunters. But the sea around it grows busy, filled with swirling shells, drifting debris, and the steady climb toward the early evening migration. The plesiosaur mother resumes her journey with her young, leaving the protective alcove. She leads it slowly into open water, giving it space to explore while keeping watch from a distance. The youngster practices long glides, turning its body with increasing grace. It grows bolder by the hour, confidence returning after the shockwave. The reef becomes livelier as fish return to their usual patterns. Schools reform, shrimp emerge from hiding. Coral polyps extend delicate tendrils to feed on drifting nutrients. And deep below, the mosasaur follows the vibrations of weakened prey, drawn by instincts sharpened over millions of years. It moves with slow purpose through a region where the tremor knocked loose several creatures, prey too dazed to flee quickly. One such creature, a broad, flattened fish, with powerful jaws but slow reflexes, drifts unsteadily, still disoriented. The mosasaur approaches it with eerie calm. No chase, no tension. Just slow, inevitable domination. The mosasaur opens its jaws and engulfs the fish with a single fluid motion. A few bubbles rise. Silence returns. Satisfied, the giant reptile turns and swims toward deeper shadows, ready to continue its patrol until dusk. The afternoon light softens further, turning from gold to pale amber. The ocean begins to cool. Shadows stretch across the reef, creeping into valleys and canyons. The creatures of the deep rise, the creatures of the shallow retreat, and the ancient sea prepares once more for the coming night. The young ichthyosaur drifts higher, seeking the last warmth of the sun. The plesiosaur mother circles her child, guiding it toward a safe path for the evening. The pliosaur returns to its canyon, eyes glinting in the growing dimness. The ammonites rise like silent spirals of living stone. The world shifts, light fades, and a new rhythm emerges, the rhythm of dusk in a world ruled by ancient giants. Dusk settles over the ancient sea like a slow exhale. The warm amber glow of late afternoon dims into deeper shades, rose, then violet, then a smoky blue that spreads across the water like ink. The surface grows calm, disturbed only by the gentle breath of evening wind. Shadows lengthen beneath the waves. Colors soften. Shapes blur. The ocean enters a time of transition, when day creatures retreat and night creatures rise. The young ichthyosaur drifts near the surface, watching the changing colors with wide, observant eyes. The last footprints of sunlight ripple across its sleek body, turning its scales into a mosaic of fading gold. It moves slowly now, exhausted from the day's events, the tremors, the predators, the near misses. Each moment has imprinted lessons into its instincts, sharpening its understanding of this unpredictable world. It takes a final breath of warm air, then submerges, letting the fading light guide it downward. The water cools as it descends, wrapping around its body like a soothing blanket. The waves above dim into a trembling mirror that gradually dissolves as distance grows. Below, the reef begins to glow again, not as strongly as during the night, but with the soft, tentative shimmer of early evening. Tiny organisms and coral polyps release faint, bioluminescent pulses, like distant lanterns being lit one by one. Their soft lights flicker gently in the deepening gloom. The plesiosaur mother leads her young across the shadowed plains of coral. The youngster swims more confidently now, having regained its courage. It follows its mother's gentle turns, matching her rhythm. The pair glide through a canyon of coral spires that glow with blues and greens at their tips, illuminated by drifting plankton that catch the last light. The mother dips her head low, inspecting patches of seaweed and small caves carved into the reef. She's looking for a place where they can rest safely tonight. Darkness brings many hunters, some large, some small, all patient. And though she is a formidable creature, her child is not. She finds a suitable alcove tucked beneath an overhang of coral and guides her young into it. The space is narrow enough that larger predators cannot enter easily. Here, the currents are gentle. Here, the shadows protect rather than conceal threats. She coils her long neck slightly, forming a barrier at the entrance with her body. The child nestles against her side, breathing steadily. The mother remains awake, her senses alert, but the child's eyes begin to close. Above and farther away, the giant ammonite completes its graceful ascent. It reaches the upper layers of the ocean, where the water is still warm, but dimming with every passing minute. Tiny organisms gather around it, drawn by chemicals the ammonite releases into the water. Smaller creatures feed on this drifting trail, forming a miniature ecosystem in its wake. Its shell glints faintly in the fading light, spiraled ribs catching the last gleam of the sun. The ammonite's tentacles extend outward, sensing the shifting currents. Once again, it follows its ancient instinct, rising at dusk to feed, drifting just below the surface, ready to take advantage of the nightly abundance. But this evening, the currents behave strangely. The shock waves from earlier tremors have altered the flow of water. Subtle eddies swirl unpredictably. The sea water carries hints of minerals and deep earth gases. For the ammonite, these signals are confusing, but not threatening. It slows its ascent, choosing a path that feels more stable. Nearby, dozens of smaller ammonites rise as well, some with smooth shells, others with ribbed patterns or spines. They drift in loose spirals, their movements gentle and slow, catching the faint glowing flecks of plankton settling from the earlier disturbance. And in the cooling waters just beneath them, another presence stirs. The juvenile pliosaur has left its canyon to explore the dimming sea. Though the sun dips lower, the dusk hours give it energy. It swims with strong, purposeful strokes as it rises into the mid-water zone. Its eyes shine with the first glints of bioluminescent light scattered among drifting particles. As it moves upward, a cluster of small ammonites catches its attention. It slows, watching their gentle spirals. They are not substantial prey, too small to satisfy a growing predator, but they are easy, weak, distracted. The pliosaur tilts its head, calculating. It lunges. Its jaws snap around one of the smaller ammonites, crushing the delicate shell instantly. The others scatter in bursts of erratic motion, their spirals twisting in frantic escape patterns. The pliosaur swallows, then chases another, moving with predatory efficiency. But the juvenile's hunting stirs something else. Deep below, the mosasaur senses the disturbance. Pressure waves, vibrations, the subtle signals of smaller creatures scattering. It rises again, drawn by curiosity as much as by hunger. Its massive body moves through the increasingly shadowed waters like a drifting continent of flesh. The ocean darkens further. Tiny glowing organisms bloom across the mid-water zone, illuminating the sea in flecks of emerald and sapphire. Long, ribbon-like jelly creatures drift upward, trailing faint lights. Small, segmented swimmers pulse in clusters of soft luminescence. Dusk becomes a canvas of moving constellations in the water. The ichthyosaur drifts among them, fascinated. Its large eyes widen to adapt to the dimness, reflecting bright flecks of color. It swims slowly, mesmerized by the flickering shapes, twisting gently as if dancing with the lights. A few bioluminescent creatures brush against its snout, leaving behind brief glowing trails that fade into darkness. But it is not alone. A sudden flicker in the corner of its vision causes the ichthyosaur to turn sharply. A large shadow approaches from below, smooth, long-bodied, and eerily calm. The mosasaur. It emerges from the deep darkness with a slow, deliberate rise, its powerful tail sweeping behind it, pushing its massive body upward with controlled force. Its eyes glow faintly in the bioluminescent haze, focused and alert. The ichthyosaur freezes. It remains perfectly still, a common strategy among younger animals, hoping to avoid drawing attention. But the mosasaur notices. Its great head tilts slightly, its gaze fixing on the smaller reptile for a long, tense moment. The ichthyosaur's heart races. The mosasaur glides closer, its movement silent, its long jaws glinting faintly with reflected light. Then, it turns away. Effort is unnecessary. The small creature presents no challenge and little reward. The mosasaur has larger ambitions tonight. It passes through the glowing water with a single powerful stroke, sending ripples of bioluminescent organisms swirling outward like sparks in the dark. The ichthyosaur exhales slowly, then swims away. Far behind the mosasaur, the juvenile pliosaur continues hunting small ammonites, emboldened by the growing darkness. It swallows another, then another. But as it pursues the third, a larger ammonite, the giant elder, moves slightly, casting a drifting shadow over the hunting ground. The juvenile pliosaur pauses. It senses the presence before it fully comprehends it. The giant ammonite hovers serenely, its tentacles pulsing with slow, ancient rhythm. The pliosaur circles it, captivated. This ammonite is far too large to swallow whole, and its shell is thick enough that even an adult would struggle to crack it immediately. But that does not stop the pliosaur from testing. It swims a tight loop, lowers its head, and snaps at the ammonite's shell with surprising force. The shell rings with a deep, resonant crack, but does not break. The ammonite recoils slightly, releasing a small cloud of shimmering ink. Its tentacles pulse furiously, pushing it upward in a twisting escape pattern. The pliosaur lunges again, jaws clamping down on the shell. Another crack, still not broken. The ammonite spins, twisting its body. Its tentacles whip forward, delivering a powerful push that sends the pliosaur back a few feet. For an ancient invertebrate, it fights with remarkable determination. The pliosaur snarls silently, circling. It dives again. But something interrupts the hunt. A rushing pressure wave, immense, familiar, moves through the water like the distant roll of thunder. The mosasaur is returning. The pliosaur senses it immediately. Instinct overrides its stubbornness. It abandons the ammonite and dives back into deeper water, fleeing the approaching presence. The ammonite escapes upward, drifting towards shallower zones where predators rarely follow. The mosasaur glides silently into the scene moments later. Its massive silhouette consumes the faint light around it, turning the water into a shifting mixture of shadow and glow. But it does not chase the pliosaur. It does not pursue the ammonite. Its attention is fixed on something else, something even more ancient than the ammonites. A faint vibration, a distant tremor, different from the earlier shockwave. This is not an eruption, not a quake, not a shift in the seabed. This is movement, something enormous, something deep, something rising. The ichthyosaur feels it too, a subtle, rhythmic pulse. The plesiosaur mother senses it, a shift in the patterns of nearby fish. The pliosaur senses it. Pressure changes in the lower water layers. Even the drifting ammonites alter their course slightly, pulled instinctively upward. The mosasaur descends. Not far, just enough to position itself above the deeper trench where the vibration originates. The water cools, the light fades, the deep murmurs, and the ancient rhythms of the sea shift once again. Something is coming, a movement so old, so large, so fundamental that even the rulers of these waters seem small in its presence. But for now, the ocean holds its breath. The first stars appear above the waves. Bioluminescent light blooms below, and the prehistoric night begins its slow, wondrous rise. Night falls completely over the ancient ocean, and with its arrival, the world transforms. The last violet threads of sunset fade from the surface, leaving only the soft glow of distant stars shimmering faintly through the waves. The air cools above, the water cools below, and the creatures of the Mesozoic night come fully alive. The surface darkens into a mirror of obsidian. Below it, the sea becomes a vast velvet expanse illuminated by drifting specks of living light. Soft blues, greens, and ghostly whites shimmer and pulse in the depths. Each small organism releases its glow in scattered rhythms, creating a breathtaking tapestry that resembles the night sky inverted beneath the waves. The young ichthyosaur swims through this star-filled world with slow, almost dreamlike movements. Its large eyes, built for gathering every sliver of light, widen to reflect the glowing points all around it. The eerie quiet of the night soothes its early attention. The trembling aftershocks of fear and surprise from the day melt away as it drifts through suspended galaxies of bioluminescence. Its tail sweeps gently behind it, leaving a faint shimmering trail as disturbed plankton spark in response. The ichthyosaur glides through the darkness like a comet, silent, graceful, solitary. But the silent peace of night is only the surface of a deeper story. The plesiosaur mother still guards her young in the sheltered alcove of the reef, her long neck curved protectively over the entrance. The child sleeps lightly by her side, breathing in slow pulses. The mother rests, but never fully sleeps. Her senses are tuned to every shift in the water. Lights flicker in the coral around her, faint waves of glow marking the movements of tiny creatures. Small nocturnal fish emerge from hiding, their bodies transparent except for pulsing organs that glow like tiny lanterns. A narrow shrimp-like creature inches along the reef wall, its body banded with soft blue luminescence. Waves of drifting particles descend like underwater fireflies, yet beneath this calm beauty lies tension. The deep vibration from earlier still resonates faintly through the water, so low it is almost below perception, but powerful enough to stir instincts in creatures that have survived countless shifts in the prehistoric world. Far out in deeper water, the mosasaur hovers just above the trench where the rhythmic pulse originates. It remains unusually still, its enormous body suspended effortlessly in the dark, as if listening, waiting. Its tail moves only occasionally, small, graceful sweeps maintaining its position. Its eyes catch faint blue light, revealing a calm intensity. The pattern of the vibration changes slowly, shifting from a deep rumble to a strange, rolling pulse. The seabed below flickers with subtle movement, silt rising and falling, disturbed by something massive within the trench. The mosasaur lowers its head slightly. Predator though it is, it understands the depths. It understands the difference between prey and something older. Meanwhile, the juvenile pliosaur prowls the midwater realm. It glides through currents rich with glowing organisms, its body silhouetted sharply against the pale light. Its young muscles are energized by the cooling water. Its blood carries the restless drive of a predator in its prime hours. It darts between drifting chains of jelly-like creatures, weaving elegantly between their luminescent trails. It passes a group of sleeping fish hovering motionless, but spares them, seeking something larger, something meaningful. But even it grows cautious as it feels the same faint vibration. Its movement slow, its posture stiffens. It turns one eye downward, toward the trench where shadows gather more thickly than the rest of the sea. In the upper waters, drifting lazily near the dim surface, the giant ammonite feels the tremor too. Its ancient nerves interpret the pulse not as threat or opportunity, but simply as change, something to adjust to. It rises slightly, seeking safer currents with fewer disturbances. Smaller ammonites swirl around it in spirals, their own tentacles flicking with anxious energy. Their glowing trails twist like faint smoke in the water, delicate and beautiful. They rise higher, forming a drifting lantern field beneath the darkened waves. Something below stirs again. The deep trench expands with a subtle shift, rock cracking, pressure shifting. A long, dark plume rises through the water, thicker than silt, richer than ordinary debris. The water temperature shifts unexpectedly. Pockets of cooler and warmer currents mix in sudden, chaotic eddies. The ichthyosaur pauses mid-stroke, sensing the change instantly. It turns its head. It listens with its whole body. The plesiosaur mother lifts her neck, eyes widening. She nudges her sleeping young awake gently, urging it deeper into the reef shelter. The pliosaur growls in a low, rumbling hum, its voice swallowed by the water. It drifts upward, away from the trench's edge. The mosasaur moves last. With a slow, deliberate motion, it lifts its massive body and rises slightly, putting distance between itself and the trench below. Not out of fear, such a concept doesn't exist for this apex hunter, but out of respect. The deep is not its domain. Tonight, something older than it awakens. The plume rises higher, swirling into the mid-water zone in a twisting, cloud-like column. The glowing organisms caught in it spark in chaotic bursts, flashing wildly in every direction as they are swept up in the upward surge. The water pressure shifts sharply, pushing smaller creatures outward like leaves in a sudden gust of wind. Then, silence. The plume stops rising. The pulses halt. The sea holds its breath. In that silence, the trench dims. A shadow moves. At first, the movement seems like part of the landscape, too large, too slow, too ancient. The shadow stretches across the trench wall, shifting with the gentlest undulation of something enormous. The mosasaur's eyes widen. Whatever rises from below is not a predator of today's ocean, not a creature the reptiles of this era fear, not even a beast that hunts them. It is something older. From the deepest part of the trench emerges a massive silhouette, a creature whose bones will someday fossilize into shapes that confuse scientists for centuries. A Shonisaurus, one of the largest ichthyosaurs to have ever existed. Its shape rises gradually, like the surfacing of a submerged island. Its body stretches far beyond the size of the young ichthyosaur we've followed. Its head alone dwarfs the juveniles of the sea. Its flippers are enormous, sweeping like ancient wings. Its eyes glow faintly with the reflection of drifting bioluminescent clouds. It is not hunting. It is not fleeing. It is simply migrating. Following ancient routes, it has traveled for decades, perhaps longer. The mosasaur backs away, not in fear, but in understanding that this titan has no interest in conflict. It is too large for either to threaten the other meaningfully. Their lives overlap, but do not intersect beyond brief, cautious acknowledgement. The young ichthyosaur sees the giant. Its eyes widen. It remains perfectly still as the colossal creature rises past it, like a living continent moving through the water. The juvenile's entire world seems to tilt as the Shonisaur's shadow envelops it. The plesiosaur mother watches from the reef. She draws her young close. This is not a threat, but it is unpredictable. She remains alert. The pliosaur stops mid-motion, suspended in awe and confusion. It circles widely away from the giant, instincts telling it to avoid crossing paths too closely. The ammonites drift upward faster, startled by the shifting water caused by the giant's ascent, and the shonosaur continues to rise. Higher, higher still. Its massive body breaks through a cloud of glowing plankton, scattering them in swirling bursts of aquatic light. The beautiful chaos reflects off its smooth skin in patterns that make it resemble a drifting constellation. Its great tail sweeps once, twice, in slow, powerful arcs. It emits a low-frequency sound, almost a moan or a call, before leveling out in the mid-water zone. It is peaceful, ancient, majestic, a reminder that the ocean has always yielded giants beyond comprehension, not all of them predators, not all of them violent, but all of them part of a vast and interconnected world. The mosasaur shadows the titan from a distance for a while, curious but cautious. The pliosaur retreats deeper into dim waters. The ichthyosaur watches with childlike wonder, following briefly before drifting away again. The shonosaur continues on its path in silence, disappearing eventually into the blue-black gradient of night. As the giant fades into the darkness, the surrounding sea releases the tension it held. The plesiosaur mother's posture softens. The ichthyosaur resumes its slow, gentle swim. The pliosaur returns to midwater hunting. The ammonites reorganize into spirals. The ancient rhythm resumes. Bioluminescent lights glow more steadily now. Tiny creatures drift in clouds of soft color. Night deepens into calm. The sea, shaken earlier by tremors and pulses of unknown origins, settles once again under the watch of stars above and glowing organisms below. But the night is long, and more stories rise with the tide. Night in the ancient sea deepens into its quietest hour, when even the stars overhead seem to hold still, and the surface barely stirs except for soft, rhythmic breathing of the waves. Beneath this calm facade, the underwater world is alive with drifting lights, faint vibrations, and the silent motion of creatures moving through darkness. The young ichthyosaur glides slowly through the cool water, its movements eased into a relaxed rhythm. After witnessing the immense shonosaur's migration, its own world feels both larger and safer. Larger because it understands now how vast the ocean truly is. Safer because not everything enormous is out to hunt it. It drifts toward a quieter region where bioluminescent particles swirl like a mist of tiny stars, each one drifting with the sway of the currents. The ichthyosaur hovers in this shimmering cloud, blinking gently as the glowing motes brush along its skin. Its large eyes take in every detail, capturing faint movements invisible to smaller creatures. For the moment, it is content, not hungry, not afraid, simply part of the drifting rhythm of the night. But in this world, calm never lasts without consequence. Something glides in the gloom, deeper and slower than a typical hunter. The ichthyosaur senses it before it sees it, an almost imperceptible shift in pressure, a subtle thickening of the water around it. It turns its head toward the dark, heart quickening slightly. A silhouette appears, but it is not the sharp, muscular form of a predator. Instead, it is a long, ribbon-like shape, drifting with a serene grace. Its body undulates with soft, rippling motions, like a giant eel sculpted from translucent silk. Long filaments trail behind it, glowing in soft pulses that ripple upward like the tracings of a deep-sea aurora. A giant siphonophore, one of the early precursors to the massive colonial organisms that will someday grow to astounding lengths. Several meters long, it moves not as a single creature, but as a colony, a living chain of specialized organisms working in unison, drifting through the ancient ocean like a ghostly tapestry. The ichthyosaur remains perfectly still, mesmerized. The siphonophores' filaments release faint flashes of blue and white, trailing in arcs that look like delicate handwriting drawn in light across the black canvas of night. Tiny fish weave around the organism, drawn to its glow, or perhaps finding safe passage along its drifting path. The creature is peaceful, but not harmless. As the ichthyosaur watches, a small fish touches one of the long filaments. In an instant, the creature's body pulses brightly, and the fish stiffens, paralyzed by the siphonophore's stinging cells. It drifts helplessly as the colonial body begins to reel it inward toward digestive structures. The ichthyosaur tilts its head, fascinated and wary, learning once again that danger wears many forms in this ancient world. It leaves the siphonophore behind, careful not to brush against its stinging threads. The creature continues drifting, its bioluminescent ripples fading into the distance like receding fireworks. Deeper among the coral shelters, the plesiosaur mother remains alert. Her young sleeps fitfully beside her, small flippers twitching occasionally as if dreaming of gentle currents or drifting shoals. She adjusts her position, curling her body more securely around the entrance, her long neck arched over her child like a living shield. She too senses subtle changes in the water, the faint vibration lingering from the distant trench, the cool currents drifting upward from deeper zones, the shifting behavior of fish as they avoid open pathways. Her instincts sharpen. She listens, watches, waits. Farther from the reef, the juvenile pliosaur prowls the midwater zone once more. The glow of drifting plankton illuminates its muscular shape as it moves with fluid, quiet power. It has recovered from the earlier shockwave and now hunts with more confidence than before. A school of small silver-bodied fish hovers near a patch of bioluminescent algae. Their bodies shimmer as they feed, unaware of the predator lurking nearby. The pliosaur waits patiently, its tail coiling slightly. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, it surges forward. The fish scatter in a glittering explosion of sparks, but the pliosaur claims one with a precise snap of its jaws. Satisfied, it continues its patrol, weaving through drifting clusters of light like a silent phantom. Above, the surface shines faintly with starlight. The ocean is calm, mysteriously calm, given the upheaval earlier. Yet beneath this calm, the pulse from the trench has not completely faded. It lingers like a heartbeat too slow to notice, unless one listens deeply. The mosasaur listens. It swims low, close to the edge of the trench, as if waiting for a sign or simply observing a region that has changed unexpectedly. Its movements are slow now, deliberate, its massive form gliding through the chilled water like a drifting continent of muscle and power. It senses nothing immediately dangerous, no sudden plume, no rising titan, only the lingering echo of movement deep within the earth. Satisfied for the moment, the mosasaur changes course, rising back toward warmer waters. As it ascends, other creatures scatter instinctively, not in panic, simply in respect for the space claimed by such a dominant presence. The mosasaur ignores them all, gliding through clouds of bioluminescent life that ignite briefly in its wake. But something new enters the scene. Something small, something common, something unexpected. A shoal of belemnites, ancient relatives of squid, drifts upward in a swirling cluster. Their torpedo-shaped bodies shimmer faintly and each one trails a cluster of tiny, twitching arms. Some pulse with soft bioluminescence, while others simply drift, guided by instinctive rhythms. At night, they rise in huge numbers, an underwater migration as old as the Mesozoic era itself. The ichthyosaur sees them first. Its exhaustion is forgotten instantly. Belemnites are its favorite prey, soft-bodied, abundant, and easy to swallow. Its movements sharpen as hunger replaces awe. The young reptile accelerates, gliding through the glowing cloud with smooth precision. It opens its jaws wide, snapping up one belemnite, then another, each one vanishing in quick gulps. The cluster explodes into motion, twisting away in swirling trails. But the ichthyosaur follows, more confident now, weaving through the drifting organisms in agile loops. Its tail flicks rapidly, pushing it faster, deeper into the cloud of glowing prey. Nearby, the pliosaur notices the commotion and turns toward the ichthyosaur. It watches, calculating whether to join the frenzy. But the belemnites scatter in too many directions for the pliosaur's focused hunting style. It settles for a single targeted strike, lunging and seizing one belemnite with a swift bite before returning to its own patrol. The plesiosaur mother sees the shifting clouds of glowing prey, but remains still, not wanting to wake her young or expose them to potential predators drawn by the activity. The giant ammonite drifts through the outskirts of the belemnite swarm, tentacles shifting in soft pulses as it captures small drifting organisms carried within the commotion. The mosasaur rises into the scene last. Its approach is not fast, but fast enough. The belemnites scatter with frantic blurs of light. Entire schools twist into spirals, fleeing the approaching titan. Some vanish downward, others upward. The ichthyosaur senses the pressure change instantly and wheels away from the hunting ground. The pliosaur retreats as well, recognizing the territory of a superior predator. The mosasaur slices through the glowing fog like a living blade. Its jaws open wide, capturing dozens of belemnites in a single sweep. Their bioluminescent bodies flash wildly inside its mouth before fading into darkness. Satisfied, it moves on, not bothering to chase stragglers. The sheer abundance of prey tonight requires no effort. It swims calmly through the water as the lights gradually recede behind it. The ichthyosaur slows again, panting lightly. It has fed well, better than it has in days. Its belly full, it descends into cooler water to rest. It twirls slowly as it drifts down, letting its exhaustion melt into the quiet glow surrounding it. Above, the stars shimmer over the blackened surface. Below, the sea glows as though filled with galaxies. And all through the dark, the ancient ocean moves to rhythms older than memory. Shifting currents, drifting lights, hunting shadows, rising giants. As the night deepens into its quietest hours, a subtle change begins again at the trench. Something faint, something new. A whisper in the deep, barely noticeable, barely real, yet enough for the mosasaur to pause mid-glide. Enough for the pliosaur to freeze with a half-swallowed belemnite dangling from its jaws. Enough for the plesiosaur mother to tense subtly around her young. Enough for the ichthyosaur to lift its head and glance downward into the abyss. The deep murmurs again, not with motion, not with giants, not with tremors, with something else. A shift in temperature, a pulling of currents, a whisper of rising chemical traces. The sea itself preparing for a change that, for now, remains hidden beneath the surface of the night. And so, as the ancient night drifts toward its quietest hour, the great sea of the Mesozoic settles once more into calm. The glowing lights of drifting plankton fade into soft, distant sparks. The hunters of the deep retreat to their shadowed realms, their silhouettes dissolving into the blue-black dark. The young ichthyosaur rests in the cool water, safe beneath the ceiling of shimmering stars, and the plesiosaur mother curls protectively around her dreaming child. Even the great mosasaurs slows its powerful heartbeat, settling into the slow glide of a giant at peace. The vast ocean that once roared with life now moves with the gentlest breath, each wave a whisper from a world long gone but never forgotten. These seas, filled with creatures stranger than myth, more ancient than imagination, have carried us across millions of years tonight. And now, as their stories slip quietly into the dark, they leave behind only stillness and a soft invitation to rest. So allow your mind to drift with the last calm currents of this ancient world. Let the deep, quiet water carry you gently into your own dreams. The sea is calm, the night is peaceful, and you are safe here, floating among the forgotten giants of Earth's earliest oceans. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time. From all of us here at Wild Dreams, sleep well, rest deeply, and good night.